Got the inside. Does Leskala send it deep? Yes, he does. He knows he's going to have to force Rolla a little bit wide, but he leaves him space. Rolla gets the inside, coming down to the Sachs curb, but he's timid on the brakes, and almost a Vettel situation there with Yuko Leskala taking it deep, but somehow he holds on, and they carry on this side-by-side battle. Now into the south curve, and around, still on the inside. Yuko Leskala will not give way.
Here they come on to the front straightaway towards Nordkurv. Someone's going to have to give here. You can't go through this thing too wide, and Yuko finally gives up the ghost and lets Billy go through, but Billy takes it a little bit too deep. Yusko's got another opportunity towards the entrance of the Parabolica.
This battle will not quit. Down to the Parabolica entry. He's got the inside one more time. Will the throttle pedal make the difference here coming off the corner? It does seem to for Vili Rolla. He briefly has a nose ahead, but now momentum goes back to Yuko Leskala. It's the long way around the Parabolica, but it'll be the inside coming down into the Spitzkara. This has been an incredible battle. They've now practically gone a full lap side by side here. Down into the corner and smoking the tires once again. Leskala somehow manages to make that shallow line work. Yep, this is down into turn 2. Really wants to cut into that apex, but there is that gray and blue car there. It carries on as it swings back through turn 3. Muirhead gets a little bit of an edge. Excuse me, Boucher does, but now as they come to the left-hander, this is not the place he wants to be. He lifts a little bit early. He still carries the speed through, goes a little wide. Is that one going to count, or is he going to be given a slowdown? It counts, and Boucher is going to move into 10th.
We've got a little bit of a pass going on here. Mies trying to make the move down to the inside here as they go into Cunningham. Side by side with Felipe Loyola. And that is going to be Mies with the nose ahead. Tries to give a little bit of an elbows out move. But now the track is going to favor back to Felipe Loyola. Under heavy braking. Who's it going to be?
We got a battle farther up ahead, and this is Karthik Pai side by side Leno Frisha. Leno's going to be able to get ahead of him. He's going to go for another one. He's not just taking one, but he's too hot in the corner, and that goes into the side of the Texan. And in the midst of it all, how about Ove Trankray getting 3 spots in a single corner?
But handling it well, did exactly the right thing, came off the throttle, just kept the wheel as straight as he could, ease the car back up on as he comes past the lap traffic here. Scarali, is that Scarali who went off up there? Is he going to get up? It looks like he's going to catch Scarali. Scarali's getting caught up with this lap traffic as Chiquita tries to get around him going through. Oh, nice pass. Mr. Sneaky pulls it off again.
This is what he's been waiting for. Now he definitely has enough speed, but oh, look, he's not even as close as he is. He's not able to use that toe to try and attack, so he's going to go around the outside, trying to break deeper, cutting back underneath, but that's going to give the inside down into the chicane to Tom Layton. Can he do it here this time? No, breaks a little bit earlier. Shallow line, another chance to maybe pull the over under, but it's not there as he parks it on the apex.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
It's going to be a rough night. With Bathurst and Detroit on tap, drivers will be tested, and the fastest will be the ones most willing to get right up against the unforgiving walls. The timid need not apply. Let's see who has an extra dose of bravery at hand as we get ready to watch round 7 of the PRL GT Pro Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up tonight, we head down under for Mount Panorama. Let's hop over to our lap guide to find out a little bit more about it. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. Well, DJ, with this place being usually set up for much more powerful cars, I have a feeling these MX-5s will kind of change the nature of this beast.
Well, they will indeed, Joe, but the same tenets are going to be relatively the same around here. In sectors 1 and 2, you've got a good draft to try to get a pass done, but sectors 1 and 3, but in sector 2, You've just got to be following the leader all the way around there. The biggest difference is because of the minimal aerodynamics in these MX-5s, the run up and down the hill, you're not going to have to worry about necessarily aero wash through any of that. The best overtaking opportunities, those are going to be going down into Griffin's Bend and then either through the Chase or Murray's Corner at the end of the long Conrad Straight. We may see a little bit of a fight back going up through the cutting and through Solomon Park, but really and truly from about the point of the cutting all the way down to Forest Elbow, it is all about just minimizing your mistakes, making sure you don't have any errors and don't run afoul of these very easy to tap walls.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of cars with damage by the checkered flag. Before we get there, though, we want to mention that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced SimRacing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL GT Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
So the performances so far in the championship have seen Bradley Holly basically running away with things. He lost a little bit of points to Kevin Berquist in this last round, but not many, to be honest. So Bradley is still sitting pretty right now. Boucher, Newhook, and Ryan Kings, and essentially a three-way fight to decide who will get third. Of course, that could change as there are still a few rounds left that could shuffle it up quite a bit. We have a team's championship as well. Let's take a look at that.
In that team's championship, Miata Mafia continues to hold a pretty sizable lead to the tune of about 28 points. But, behind them, Oh God, Right Turns, well, they've got even a bigger lead back to Crikey No Brakes. But Crikey No Brakes in a tie with 5-5 Motorsports and Fossil Racing Skull, a big ways back from them as well. So some tight battles separated by some bigger margins there.
Certainly looks like it. And as for today's race, it's another 35-minute sprint for these drivers. However, that will include a pit stop for fuel, which will be a bit of a talking point around here, not because of passing necessarily, but because that pit entry is a bit of a doozy. They've got open setup cars out there on track so the drivers can try to find a little comfort up around the mountain, but obviously there's no aerodynamics to worry about. So that kind of is mainly about just trying to find the way the car handles for you. They have a disqualification at 17 incidents, but before they get there, they'll have a drive-through penalty at 13 incidents. They could rack up that many. Most drivers will probably have quite a bit of damage on the car before they get to that. Their bonus points include fastest lap, pole, or 3 incidents or less. Right now, that provisional pole belongs to Bradley Holly, which is not much of a surprise for what we were seeing in the warm-up because he held about half a second. He's still got about half a second over the next car back, which was Ryan Kings in the warm-up. Now is Jacques Boucher here in the qualifying.
Yeah, a little bit surprising to see Kings as far back as he is, but the one thing to keep in mind about this is that some of those times on the practice session may have been set with the benefit of the draft around here. To get a really, really good time, you want to try to hook up with another driver that is about your speed. We actually watch one of those trains that's sort of coming together around here. This is Cabana, Foster, and Larson. All three teammates working together to try to get the best path forward and get the most out of a lap.
Yep, and this is that Crikey team that is all together, showing up in force and trying to see what they can do, helping one another out. Right now, Cabana giving tow to Foster and Larson, so they're probably the ones that are going to get the best benefit out of this lap around. And they've got about 5 minutes left, and that might sound like a lot, but it takes over 2.5 minutes just to circulate around here. So they're looking at 2 laps at most left that they can do.
Exactly, Joe. We were talking a little bit about it before we went on air today, that it's really quite easy to forget just how long this track is here at Mount Panorama. It is a full 4 miles around. Absolutely massive, no matter what kind of car you are in. So it is going to take plenty of time for these cars to circulate.
Well, let's see if they can go a little bit faster here with that slipstream. Seems like Foster actually losing out a little bit to Cabana down Conrad, and they finally come to the braking. It doesn't look like Cabana is up on his best time. That's kind of to be expected. Foster looks like he might be able to improve, but it's going to be very marginal, and Larson is actually almost half a second off, it seems, from his best time. So let's continue to see as they cross the line. Can anybody go that little bit quicker? Cabana does not, Foster does not, and neither does Larson.
All right, so disappointing there for that team, trying to work together a little bit. My guess is that they may swap around to see if they can maybe get a driver. Ooh, that was a big tag on the inside wall there for the 070 as he works his way around. That's Jerome Stanton, yet to set a time.
Interesting. Yeah, that's him, Mark Kalin, and Danny Duchesne that still need to put one on the board, but Duchesne and Kalin are not out on track right now, so Stanton's going to give his best to see if he can get one there and up through the cutting. The 5 of Jacques Boucher just early on in the lap. He's just about hanging around his best lap time right now, that 2:33.099. And he is pulling along a friend, it seems. I think Jeff Smith just maybe getting a whiff of the slipstream from back there. Coming now through the various parks, past McPhillamy. Frightening here up at the top of the hill. You can see how blind it is around that corner. And then once again, blind over Skyline, down into the S's. And then the infamous dipper here, where you're going to see the left front actually leave the track for a brief moment.
Yeah, and these MX-5s, that is one of the hairiest corners in the entire world. And even if you're not in one of the MX-5s, just driving around in any kind of car, very, very difficult. Very crucial to get the blast here off of Forrest's elbow. You need to make sure you're slowed down enough to be on the inside, but carry enough momentum. Let the car run wide a little bit more to get the blast down the longest straightaway here, the Conrad Straight, which leads directly into the chase. And as you can imagine, with a straight this long, this is definitely one of the overtaking opportunities that we may see on the track.
Jacques not looking like he's doing too terribly good on this lap, so not sure if we'll see any improvement out of him. Raymond Day, who's just in front of him, might have a good one in the 77, as he might improve about a 10th, but I don't think that's going to get him a spot if that is the case. Let's watch. A 2:33.6 on the last lap becomes a 2:33.3. Big improvement, but he's still about 2/10 away from Greenhoe in third.
And not able to get up there. We're seeing some pretty wide margins across the field. A couple of guys are a little bit close in the mid-pack, waiting there for the 5 to cross over. That Jacques Boucher. Doesn't look like an improvement there for Jacques. About a second off of his best time. Here comes Ryan Kings. Let's see if he's able to do a little bit better here. Coming to the line. He is. That is going to be good enough for second place.
Still 4/10 off of Holly, but he beats out Boucher, who's now on his final lap. And we see Kings still pushing hard as he swings it around Hell Corner and getting some help from the Crikey cars for sure here today. And let's see who is going to be on a good one close to finishing their lap now, because there's a few others coming in line. Looks like Galinotto's not looking quick. Mark Kalin is marginal. Peter Newhook looks like he is on an out lap right now. And Randy Gross as well. So these next couple of cars, which I think are going to be the last ones to be able to start a new lap, not looking like they're going to be all that fast this time around, as Randy Gross comes out of the chase. Peter Newhook is going to park it, so his qualifying is done. Gross sitting at just about 2/10 up, so he made up a lot of time there at the end. Coming off of Murray's corner, 2:36.502, improves by a couple hundredths. That will not get him a position, though.
No, that won't get him a position, but he'll at least have a little bit of good headspace to know he did better. We watch now the 43 of Ryan Kings working his way around. Those crikey no brakes machines had let him by. There they go around, coming down the hill now.
Didn't see any others be able to improve on their lap times, and I think Adam Young, yes, he is our first to take the checkered flag here. Just missed it as he crossed right as it was being waved. So he is now done. Bergquist is going to be the next one to take the checkered flag. He sits about half a second off of his quickest, so unless he has something mighty here through the Chase and Murray's, I don't think we're going to see a better time.
No, I don't think so either, and there's not a whole lot of time to be made up there, unfortunately. Where you really can make up some good time is from about Skyline down to Forest Elbow, but you can only make up just enough in these final couple of corners.
Bergquist crosses, and that one got deleted. Boucher abandons his lap. Ryan King's the next one through. It's not looking good for the 43, and he knows it. He is also going to call it quits. That'll move us up to Mark Kalin in the 62.
And here comes Kalin down that tricky section. Whoa, that car looks all kinds of out of control. Diving down the hill there. Very, very squirrely. Down into Forest Elbow now. Let's see if he's able to keep the car underneath him. He is, so better there for him.
Yeah, I don't think, though, he's on a good lap. I'm seeing 8 seconds off, so either he had a spin or this is some sort of out lap for him, as the 62 is not looking like he'll improve. Now, for the 070 of Jerome Stanton, he still hasn't set a time, and he desperately needs one this time across. There you can see the Fossil Racing car coming down Conrad, and he's about half a second up.
About half a second up, so he just needs to keep his foot in it here at this point. Focus on the braking zone. You're not going to take a lift here through the first part of that right-hander and then heavy onto the brakes, going down into the Chase. Spot that apex. Little bit off it there. You want to just clip that inside curbing, but this still could be enough for Jerome.
He definitely lost a bit through there. He was 8 tenths down. Now he is 5 tenths down as he comes through Murray's. Oh, he overshoots it, and it all goes away in the final corner. So he will not be able to improve behind him. Pete Thomas is not going to have his lap counted. And as we mentioned, Adam Young had already completed his qualifying. So this one doesn't count for him regardless. And before we get to our grid, we do want to mention our sponsor. Make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more at majorsgarage.com. Or use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. There's a link in the description below that directly applies our offer. As for that starting grid, up on the pole, Bradley Holly looks like he's got a commanding advantage, but will it be enough to get him out of that slipstream? Ryan King starts next to him with Jacques Boucher in P3. Kelly Greenhoe will begin in 4th. Inside of the next row, it's Raymond Day with Peter Newhook flanking him. Patrick Cowgill starts from 7th. Peter Muirhead will be P8. Then it's Jason Larson in 9th and Kevin Bergquist rounding out your top 10.
Starting off in 11, it'll be Pete Thomas, followed by Jeffrey Smith with Ian Cabana and Malcolm Foster behind them. Ralbert Gallinotto will start the inside of row 8, followed by Adam Young with Pete Bledon and Randy Gross in row 9. Mark Kalin lines up 19th, followed by Todd Lewis rounding out your top 20.
Last two set times, it was Mark Giselle in 21st and Stacy Hunter 22nd. Danny Duchesne and Jerome Stanton will start from the back of the field of 24 cars out there today, of which we have a couple on boards. Real quickly, let's see if we can hop through these. Is Adam Young, or Bradley Holly rather, is our first one, giving us the view from the pole. A little bit out of focus there. Well, hopefully that'll kick into gears. We've also got Adam Young, who will be starting from 16th today in his garage. Peter Newhook will also give us a perspective from 6th on the grid. And then finally, it'll be Mark Kalin, who will be starting from down in 19th. Just about have everybody out there. And it looks like they already have the engines revving as the green flag is out off the line. A little bit of a puff of smoke from Ryan Kings. Otherwise, he does not lose too much coming down into Hell Corner. And this can sometimes be a place where we see a little bit of chaos erupt, but so far so good. Everybody's cautious.
Everybody nice and easy, even though we see a lot of 2x2 up front. Ryan King's doing exactly what he needs to do, just holding in the draft here at the 184 of Bradley Holly. I think he may be thinking about trying to have a move there down into Griffin's Bend. No, he's going to hold it out, but we are going to go side by side between Boucher and Greenhoe.
It was a big bump draft from Kings, honestly, on Holly, but for third place, Boucher is going to be able to sneak in front of Greenhoe. Newhook just barely ahead of Raymond Day. In fact, he's getting that overlap back. He's going to carry the fight on into the cutting. This can be awful dangerous. He backs out early and lets him have it as they got to spin in front of them. Oh, and this is a big danger on the first lap. Everybody's checking up, thankfully. Great heads up from the drivers. That could have been a track blockage.
It could have indeed, and that is unfortunately Jacques Boucher, who was running up in that battle for P3 with Kelly Greenhoe, and he is going to take a tow. That car damaged beyond repair. He is opting to hop back into the pits.
Oh, that is gutting after he had such a good qualifying position. But man, I'm so glad that that did not go worse. We've seen it plenty of times here on the channel where drivers pile into one another, and a big slide there for Bradley Holly down through the dipper.
Yeah, big slide. That is not what he wants to be doing. He wants to try to keep that car underneath him as much as possible. Remember, we talked a little bit about Mark Kalin there. Another big slide coming through Forrest's elbow. And Joe, we haven't gotten a chance to talk about it, but I think that may be a result of just how hot it is out on track right now.
Indeed, it's actually cooled down shockingly since we were in practice. It was 121 at one point, 112 now, which is about 44 Celsius, and another big shove from Ryan Kings on Bradley Holly. Hopefully not too hard, and hoping it doesn't give him too many 4Xs, because they only have 12 incidents before he gets a drive-through.
They've got to be a little bit careful about that indeed, Joe, but we just heard Bradley Holly coming on the radio joking a little bit with Ryan Kings, and both of them laughing about the bump draft. So good to see both of them having fun here in this. Tensions have run a little bit high in this series at different points this year.
We have a battle going on between Raymond Day and Jason Larson. Looks like Newhook also in a tussle with Bergquist as they're 2x2 down into Murray's corner. But Newhook comes out ahead. Still not done between Day and Larson.
This is going to be Day down to the inside here, trying to keep this 2x2. That's almost 3 wide in the back there. Day's going to have to be very, very late on the brakes. I don't think he's got it. And indeed, that's going to be Jason Larson able to hold on to the position. But here comes the draft up the mountain straight,
including the battle between Bergquist and Muirhead there behind them. And in fact, looks like Larson and Day are going to box in Newhook, who tries to throw his hat in the ring. And he's going to try and give a push to Larson as well as they start to pick up speed. 110 miles an hour up the hill. Now it looks like Newhook is going to back out of it. Still, even with the push, this is looking tough for Larson. And Day hangs it around the outside. That's not easy in Griffins.
No, it's not, and now they're going to come down into the cutting where Raymond Day will have the preferred line. They try to hold on to it there. This is where we saw Boucher spin earlier, able to keep it both back under them. They continue to be side by side up the hill.
Wow, this is tough stuff from both of them, neither willing to give it up, but I think Day finally has to throw in the towel, and he will slot in between the pair of them.
Good heads up there from Raymond Day. Once you get into Solman and McPhillamy Park, this is really where you don't want to be side by side. Very much a one-way street around here.
I think we finally have a chance to take a look at the replay from Boucher, who had that spin coming through the cutting. And I'm pretty certain this was all him. I don't think there was contact.
I don't believe there was. Let's take a look. Yeah, just brought too much speed into the corner, that rear end, not really wanting to grip up, and it just ran away from him.
That looks like Newhook hit him I think maybe Raymond Day got a little piece of it as well. Hasn't been hurting them too badly, I don't think, but that was a meatball flag that forced the tow for Boucher. And he actually just finished repairs right now as I say that. So we're getting one more angle on it, and I can tell you in real time the 5 is on track and amazingly still on the lead lap. That is the length of this lap here.
Yes, it is, but I've got to tell you that Raymond Day and Jason Larson continuing that battle down into the chase. Day just putting on a perfect draft pass to get the move down the Conrad straight, but it doesn't look like Jason Larson is letting this go anytime soon. Absolutely not. And Day at first covers off, now comes down into the racing line. The pair of them through Murray's corner. Let's not forget that Newhook is just kind of watching. So is Muirhead. They could get involved in that. They're also pulling along Bergquist, Cowgill, and Smith. This goes all the way down to 10th place in this group. Yeah, this is a very, very tight battle, but up ahead of them, Kelly Greenhoe very much in an island unto himself, running in that final podium position while Holly and Kings have completely checked out at the front. They're about 6 seconds up the road. A little bit of a battle side by side here, but now Larson under fire from Newhook. Yeah, that's good news for the podium runners as Day is well ahead of the side-by-side Newhook and Larson, but Larson keeps losing out. That's another position gone for him as he falls to 6th now. And Joe, remember, not a lot of downforce in these cars, no actual aerodynamic elements on them. So it's not like he tuned the car out and is running a higher downforce setup. That is just, I think, what you were seeing from Day and from Newhook there, just able to get better launches off of the corner, and that's what's propelling them ahead. Which shocks me a bit because it was Newhook and Day that I'm pretty certain made contact with Boucher. But they seem to be a little bit quicker in a straight line compared to Larson. Maybe Larson got a piece of it and had it somewhat worse, as I think we had another incident coming up over the crest. I think Pete Bladon had a spin in the number 7. Yeah, there he is right there. Watch that back up. Oh, very, very lucky there for the number 7 that he did not collect. I believe that was Stacy Hunter going on by, and now it's going to be Bladon taking a tow. Yeah, I decided the best thing is to not try and risk anybody else's race. He probably could have turned it around from there as Boucher was a long ways back, but I don't blame him for just realizing maybe I should try and let iRacing do the work for me as we come down the hill. And Day now has the point ahead of Newhook and is trying to break that toe. He weaves across the track to see what he can do on that. Newhook's going to pull him back into about 0.4 of a second, but he's not close enough. It looks like Muirhead now is in a fight. Yeah, Larson just losing positions hand over fist. Muirhead going to have to back out now through the chase. But remember, he looks susceptible coming off of Hell Corner as well. That was a bad run there out of the chase for Larson. Muirhead now looking very, very aggressive. Not going to go for the move here, but rest assured he is in the head of Jason Larson. He's been watching him, probably seeing him losing spot after spot, knows that this is the weak oxen there that the wolf can pick off. This will be the one that won't maybe take nearly as much work to try and get something to happen. Just needs a good exit and needs his victim to have a bad exit. Larson off into the grass a little bit, and that cost him some speed. Here comes Muirhead again. He's going to have to go the long way around. That's pretty heads up to stick down to what will be the inside of Griffin's Bend for Jason Larson. Muirhead's going to really have to try to hold this out, but if he can, he will be on the preferred line going into the cutting. Larson backs out. That's the position to Muirhead. I think he saw the writing on the wall on that one. He backed out, and now he might have to lose another one. Here comes Kevin Bergquist, who had a small blink on my screen. Let's hope that doesn't come back. Patrick Cowgill kind of watching, wondering if he could get involved as well. No, he's going to snipe a position off of Bergquist. Sneaky move coming through the cutting, and Cowgill moves up to 8th. That was very heads up from Patrick Cowgill. He recognized that Bergquist was offline as a result of that battle with Jason Larson. Just saw it happen, and boom. Now Bergquist has got to worry a little bit here about Jeffrey Smith, who's looking very intimidating. This little 3-car breakaway at the back of that train we've been following for the last couple of laps. As Smith
has been enjoying a little comfort from behind. It's Pete Thomas, the next one down in the 11th by about 4 seconds, so no pressure for him. Very different line compared to Bergqvist, and it looks like Bergqvist is the one who is not where he needs to be, as another little blip coming from Jeffrey Smith now. Bergqvist recovers, gets some distance between himself and the 719, but that was a scary moment for the 64.
Yeah, it really is, and it sets up one of the things that we've talked about, obviously, with that early slip up from Boucher coming through the corners. Oh, here comes the move for the lead. A little bit of a think about it there for Ryan Kings. Backs out of it, though. Doesn't want to take a low percentage move here. He knows that this is a 2-car battle between himself and Bradley Holly.
I kind of think that may have been just another bump draft between them. They haven't shown many signs of having interest in battling here, so I suspect this is them just kind of cruising for now. 6.5 second lead. So let's see what the pit stops bring, and then we can battle from there.
That's a very good call about that, Joe. And with those pit stops, this is going to be Kings in the catbird position. Now, this is a super, super long track. Oh, as we've got a car off track there in the back.
Yeah, I think that was Adam Young returning to the track. He had to cut through the chase. That lost him a couple spots. He's down into 17th, unfortunately. It's in a nice little fight with Randy Gross, Malcolm Foster, and Robert Gallinotto. Now he's with the next group down, which is Kalin, Duchesne, and Stanton.
And he's going to have to try to hold that out as long as he can, as we're seeing these little mini breakaways start to form all over the track, really as a result of being able to keep up behind with the car in front of you in the draft, Joe.
And I think one of the breakaways is going to be Cowgill, who now gets Larson another one down yet again. He must have been repassed, and this puts Larson very slow off of Griffin's. And that means that we got a side-by-side between Bergqvist and Smith. Smith sneaks through. He gets into 9th place, but now it goes back to single file.
And remember, that's the second time that Bergqvist has lost out around the cutting there as courtesy of a maneuver. Patrick Cowgill, the one who threw that earlier. So he has got to be watching his line, I think, going forward.
So the Crikey driver of Larson now finds himself in 8th place after starting from 9th, drifting a little bit back to where he was before. Almost contact between himself and Jeffrey Smith, it looked like for a moment, coming into McPhillamy Park, covers him off down into the S's, and both of them once again have to go single file for the time being. Oh, and contact again into the side twice, and that takes all 3 of them out. Bergqvist, Smith, and Larson. The rest of them try to sneak through, but Smith tries to come back, and that's a big problem as that makes contact with Lewis, and I think it looks like Pete Thomas as well.
Yeah, that is a big, big kerfluffle coming down the hill, and that's exactly the worst-case scenario, Joe, that you and I were fearing. Oh!
Ooh, great heads up, at least for one car. Thomas almost taking out Giselle next, after he became victim of that same scenario.
Indeed, and Mark Giselle very, very heads up, recognizing that that car was slowed. You saw him slowing down even before he came around that blind corner, as we've got to jump up there, because there is a nice little battle here starting to shape up. That is between the 62 and the 70 and the 27.
Ooh, side-to-side contact heading down to the chase, up and over the curbs, bounds over him, but Duchesne holds steady as Kalin is almost out of control. This gives Adam Young a chance to get one of his spots back, and behind them, it looks like Stanton is heading into the pits. He wants no part of this.
Well, no, that's a good call here for Sector 2. Oh, that's the 27 around hard into the wall. That's Duchesne.
Thankfully, everybody avoided him. He gets a clear spot to get turned around. Looks like the car's in okay enough condition. I'm not seeing a black flag for him, so he can carry on.
Yes, he can, but he's soon going to find himself in a problem with the 358 coming up behind him. A quick check back in on the calmer side of things. These are your leaders, Bradley Holly and Ryan Kings.
Still at about 6.5 seconds, so I'm not sure if they've eased up the pace a little bit or if Greenhoe has turned up the wick. Whatever the case, it seems like Holly and King's no longer streaking away from all the others. 20 minutes left to go, 21 roughly, and they're going to be reaching the halfway point pretty soon.
Yeah, they will. And as I was saying a little bit earlier, if Kings is able to eke out an extra lap here, that could be kind of nice. His one problem, though, is that he may find himself without a drafting buddy. And just like we've seen on a super speedway race, that is not the best thing. You want to make sure you are in range of that toe.
I'm trying to figure out who first started off all the craziness that we saw there. And I want to say Kevin Berquist was one of the first involved. Let me double check here on that. I know he was because he's now in pit lane after that incident. So it had happened in front of him. Smith, yeah, it was Smith and Larson that came together, and poor Berquist was kind of an innocent victim. Pete Thomas found himself becoming the latest to get collected. And then who was that with Thomas? I'm trying to figure out.
It was, I believe, the 358 of Mark Gassell that came through. Yeah, they're just eking it on by heads up from both drivers.
So the other one with Pete Thomas that ran into the back of him, that was Todd Lewis. So he was the one that probably got a severe amount of damage out of that. And yeah, you mentioned Giselle, just thankfully seeing what was ahead, even if he couldn't physically see it. He had his eyes on his relative. Let's come back live. And right now, speaking of Todd Lewis, he is in pit lane. So yeah, that damage must have hurt him. And he is going to take repairs. We saw someone else down there in that gold car taking repairs. That looks like that was the 12 of Greenhoe. Oh, okay. So that was not involved in that incident. That was a strategy call.
Interesting there from Kelly Greenhoe, maybe just trying to undercut these guys a little bit. Holly, that's the first mistake we've really seen out of him this entire race, locking up that left inside tire a little bit coming through the cutting.
Okay, so will we start to see Ryan Kings get tired of riding behind? He's saving a lot of fuel, you got to think. This is probably paying dividends for him. But at some point, maybe he figures, let's just get in front because I've saved enough. And Holly's making errors. I can't get caught up in his oopsie.
Exactly, and that's really one of the things that makes this such a unique track coming up and down the hill like that, is that if you ride too close behind another car, even in these cars with not a lot of aero wash, you still run the risk of getting into trouble because it's so easy for a car to go offline, smack the wall, and really cause a pileup in front of you.
Both of them out of Forest Elbow. Another little lockup on the inside of Holly as he puffs the smoke coming through that dropping left-hander and still pulling the toe on him. Ryan Kings ducks into the tire tracks of the 184, gets a huge run. And is this going to be a repeat? This looks like a repeat. No sign of wanting to overtake. He's just going to stay put. This is left us with about 21 cars, it seems, still racing on track. It's been a bit of an IKEA race out there. A lot of meatballs have been showing up. Larson, a victim of that. Berquist, Smith. I think we've had a few others in it. Boucher was one at one point.
Yeah, just a lot of problems with following these drivers, and sadly a little bit of what we expect here at Bathurst. It is very much a problem when you get going around. Watching here, Raymond Day and Peter Newhook, both drivers not opting to come down pit lane. I would anticipate one, maybe two more laps being able to be had. We've got a little bit of side-by-side here in the back. That's Mark Kalin and Adam Young.
And I think Adam Young lifted a little bit there coming into the chase. He didn't want to try and risk that one. He's already been off track here one time. The pair of them head out of that chicane down towards the pit entry, and it looks like Young feels now's the right time. So he pits in and is going to be taking service. Now he's going to give up a spot to Greenhoe, who's already taken his pit stop. And we've got a few others in there.
It looks like Galinotto and Randy Gross both opting to come down pit lane. And look how much time Adam Young was able to make up on that tricky pit entry. If you are brave and you have practiced it enough, you can gain some massive time coming down to that yellow cone.
And they all hit their marks. Looks like a lot of damage being repaired. Someone missing a tire there, I think, at one point as they were dipped down into the concrete. And meanwhile, we're looking at Newhook here up into third because of those who have taken pit stops. He's being chased by Raymond Day. They've left behind Muirhead, in the number 19, who is got about 2 seconds to try and make up. Seems to have really lost touch. I think some of having to slow up for the incidents that have erupted in front of him.
Yeah, he looks like he has lost a lot of touch with that, but we continue to watch this battle. Day doing a fantastic job of just keeping the pressure up to Peter Newhook, making sure that if he steps a toe out of line, that will be Day ready to pounce.
15 minutes left to go. Probably going to see them coming in here pretty soon as we check the onboard of Newhook. Looking backwards at Day. This is the battle for the podium position, but probably won't be once they get their pit stops done. Is Day going to take a bit of a peek? He thinks about it, but no, that looked like a lift right there for the 77. So Newhook's going to stay safe.
Yeah, and look at that. Newhook recognized that he wasn't going to be under attack there and isn't looking at all in his rear view mirrors at Raymond Day. He is just focused on the road ahead of him. Well, let's see if either of these drivers peel off into the pits. As Bradley Holly, your leader, has come down.
He has indeed. So Holly calls strategy. Day calls strategy. Looks like Muirhead's going to stay out. I'm watching those behind. Patrick Cowgill is the next to join them on the lane. Cabana's going to stay out. We're watching for Greenhoe to see if he's gained any time with his 16.8 second stop compared to his rivals. There's Greenhoe coming out of the chase now. Bradley Holly still in his stall, taking fuel on board. As Greenhoe heads towards Murray's Corner, he's going to have to be much closer than this. Holly, 17, 18. This is looking like a long stop, a very long stop. 20, 21. Did he speed in pit lane? No, just a long stop for him. 22.5 seconds. That's going to lose him a ton of time. Greenhoe was far enough back that he's safe. But boy, if we see a 16, 17 second stop from Kings, that's going to be massive to try and recollect ahead of him.
Yeah, it really, really is. And Kelly Greenhoe here, remember, he was starting to close that gap down a little bit before they came into the pit stops. So he may have a little bit of excess speed in him and may be able to try to catch up here a little bit.
So the only ones that did not pit that time, Kings, Newhook, Muirhead, Cabana, and Duchesne. Looks like Stacy Hunter's just coming into pit lane now, and he's sitting down in 16th position. So pretty much everybody in the mid pack has pitted in. That's Mark Kalin you see exiting out as he trails this group being led by Malcolm Foster in 10th.
Yeah, starting to space themselves out a little bit up at the front, in the back, a little bit closer together. You can see those intervals. Now, the key gap here is about a second. That is where you will start to feel that draft if you are within a second of the car in front of you.
Right now, the only car I see within a second of the other among the top 15 even is looking like Gross and Gallinotto, with Foster maybe pulling Gross along, but it's just about on the cusp. From there, they've got sort of a train forming. Looks like Adam Young and Jerome Stanton trying to keep up with them as well. And I can report that Kings is in.
Yes, indeed he is. So he is opting to come down pit lane here. Going to take his stop. Now remember that 22.5 second stop for Bradley Holly. If Kings is able to come out under that, we anticipate he will be well out into the lead.
There's the comparison that you need to watch. The stop time, 22.4 for Holly. Watch Kings start to tick up as he cruises towards his pit stall, hits his marks nice and clean. That's a good sign for him. Peter Newhook is in. Parker Muirhead, looks like Ian Cabana made it in safely, and then Duchesne's going to be the last one what they're waiting for. The timer now starts to slowly climb. Holly's just on the front stretch now. Kings is out about 4.5 seconds quicker. He's starting to pick up speed, and he is easily clear.
Bradley Holly, there he is coming around the corner right now. The gap starting to settle itself out. It looks like it's going to be just under 5 seconds, ticking a little bit closer to 4 seconds as Ryan Kings gets himself up to speed.
Holly has work to do, so that fuel saving that I'm sure Kings was doing probably came in handy there on that first stint, and I'm sure Holly is well aware of it. He's the sort of guy that's probably already thinking about that sort of stuff. Wasn't willing to give up the lead in the meantime, and maybe he just thinks he's got the pace to try and run him down.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to, though. We'll keep an eye on these sector times. The gap stabilizing at about 4.1 seconds right now. We'll have to see.
This is a battle on screen between Newhook and Day. Day comes out ahead. He'll be in 4th. Ahead of them, Greenhoe easily re-inherited 3rd place. So it's a battle for best of the rest amongst our drivers just outside of the podium. Muirhead is the one behind that, number 77 and 87.
Yeah, he's going to see if he can pick up any table scraps here that are waiting for him from this battle, as Peter Newhook definitely looks like he has the speed coming up over the hill to keep things competitive with Raymond Day, and Muirhead is just going to hope that these two lock themselves into a battle and he'll be able to sneak on by.
Don't need to go to it, but Pete Thomas had another incident out of Hell Corner, hit the wall on exit. He gets it rolling once again. Down through the S's as they pick up speed and then have to hit the brakes down through Forest Elbow. Everybody tries to get back on the throttle as quickly as they can onto Conrad. Day leads, Newhook chases, Muirhead brings up the caboose, and it looks like the slipstream's starting to give an effect to the 87. He's closing in.
Yeah, he's closing in a little bit here, but I don't know how close he's going to be. The gap coming down under 0.2 of a second. Day certainly thinks he's going to be close enough, going super defensive down into the chase.
As Newhook is going to try and hold the inside. Under braking, he's not strong enough, and Day rebuffs him. That gives a great chance to Muirhead, who suddenly is on the rear bumper of the 87. Does he go for it here in a Murray's? He wants to. He's going to try and stick his nose in and then backs out.
Not able to get it done there. That's going to cost him a couple of valuable tenths. But again, Raymond Day there going defensive. He is very, very worried about the run here from Peter Newhook. That tells you that he clearly thinks Newhook's got speed, and speed he does have as he tries to go around the outside there of Hell.
Up the mountain straight. It's a drag race between the pair of them, but they're now giving a double toe to Muirhead. He's got his pick of lanes if he can find space. It's not a very wide track here. And no, he is going to just hook up with the 87, see if he can push him forward that little bit more, and then he lifts, slots in behind Raymond Day. But Newhook is up to 4th, way off the line, off into the off-cambered marbles of Griffin's Bend. Raymond Day maybe gave that one up late, trying to chop across. Parker Muirhead cannot come down, and still the battle carries on out of the cutting.
Oh, now it's going to favor Muirhead a little bit here. Day, I think, going to have to fall back into line. And indeed, as they make their way up through Reed Park and through Solomon Park, that is Raymond Day down 2 positions in the matter of about 5 corners.
Oof, he was doing so good earlier in this race as well. Now he's not even within the top 5. And through McPhillamy Park, he could have a shot down the hill. If he stays this close, he'll feel the slipstream, be able to pay him right back. But he's got to stay close. That's the thing. Easier said than done sometimes. Both of them really chucking the cars in down through the dipper.
Yeah, they are absolutely driving on the limit here, giving nothing away. You see a little bit of a wider run there into the corner for Raymond Day, just trying to carry speed as much as he can.
That seemed to separate them. But Day looks a lot closer to Muirhead than Muirhead to Newhook. So let's watch and see who's got themselves a better run. It does look to be Parker Muirhead, because Raymond Day is still not gaining. Is he experiencing some of that straight line speed deficit from some damage on that first lap wreck? Coming into the chase, he is much better on the binders, and I think Muirhead knows it.
Yes, he does, being very, very cautious there, trying to block off that inside. It's going to work for now. Well, let's see if Day can try to get around the outside here. No, he's going to have to stay in line.
Should still get opportunities now as they come down into Hell Corner. If he gets a great launch off of that and up the mountain straight, could see Raymond Day once again moving himself within the top 5, but it's not looking terribly good.
No, it is not. Day under a lot of trouble here, just losing out, and he's got to be careful. He doesn't want to lose touch with the draft.
No, absolutely not. That's probably the worst thing that could happen with him right now. I think we had an issue with Patrick Cowgill and Ian Cabana. I'm trying to double check here. And I think there was no contact that I'm seeing. Very strange stuff. There was a bit of a slowdown or something for Patrick Cowgill that he almost looked like he let Cabana by at one point. So we'll try and investigate that, see if we can figure out what was going on there. But in the meantime, we're watching the battle for 4th on your screen. As they come into McPhillamy Park, and then behind them, that is Mark Kalin on the inside into the cutting with the Crikey's sort of maroon and gold car of Malcolm Foster having to give way. Look out for Robert Gallinotto. He could pick something up if those two keep fighting in front of him.
Very much so. Remember what we saw Parker Muirhead be able to do here. I think this is the exact kind of play that Robert Gallinotto was hoping to pull here, being very, very careful as they work their way around here. Very easy to get offline, especially this far into the race when marbles have started to develop on the outside of the track.
Last thing you want is to lose grip at any point, especially along the mountain here, as there's no room for error on either side. What little runoff there is in a few places, it is minuscule. And down through the dipper, nice little run for Mark Kalin in front of him. Oh, but it looks like he's too deep. He's way too deep down into Forest Elbow, and all that hard work just goes to waste.
Indeed it does. He is going to lose out big time here to Malcolm Foster. Already Foster starting to build up a little bit more speed, but it looks like, I think Foster may not have the full ability to attack here, and Kalin may hold on to this for the moment.
This is Mark Kalin's on board right here, looking backwards at Foster, Gallinotto, and Young. Looking for the brakes down into the chase, and Young is very deep on it, but the number 21 not able to poke his way through. By the way, last time by, Holly was half a second faster than Kings, but I think he's going to run out of laps to try and chase him down.
I think he will as well, Joe, as they cross the line. We've only got 2 to go here, so however much speed Holly's able to build is not going to work out there. Big mistake there in the back for Malcolm Foster, getting a little bit wide going through Murray's corner. That's going to give Mark Kalin some breathing room.
Right now, breathing room is what all the drivers desperately want, to get out of the slipstream from those behind and to get a little bit more room on either side through this part of the circuit. New Hook still pulling along Muirhead. Day still in 6th behind them. Cabana is now 17 seconds back from that group. So honestly, everybody from 6th on up have been running some impressive pace comparatively that has left everybody else in the dust.
Yeah, they really have. As we check back in on this battle for 4th, as they have just been really trying to close in, but the battling in and amongst themselves, I think, has really scuppered any potential chance they had of catching Gilly Greenhoe up front.
Out of Forest Elbow once again and onto the Conrad. There is far enough behind that the 43 of Kings is just heading into the chase now, so you can't even see him up that long shot. There he is now, and into that very swift chicane over the crest, and there's his rival trying to chase him down. Bradley Holly, who was not able to take the win last time out, had a bit of a bad day in Hungary, at least for him. I don't think Kings is not his rival, at least right now. Kings is about 43 points back coming into this race as the white flag waves for Ryan crossing the start-finish line. So Holly, even if he finishes behind Ryan, this is probably still going to be satisfactory, if not quite the way he wanted this race to unfold.
For sure, and that's going to be factoring into his brain a little bit as we watch there Raymond Day trying to think about having a little bit of a look on Parker Muirhead, white flag in the air. And rest assured, Bradley Holly will know that points total in his head. He will know that he is ahead of his rivals right now as they run, and he will still be in a good championship position, even though in not a good race position.
A lot of weaving once again from Newhook, doing everything he can to try and get away from Parker Muirhead. He's only got to do it for one more lap, but if Parker gets just a whiff of things down Conrad, he's got to be pouncing into the chase. Once again, immediately going across the track to try to deny him any sort of slipstream, even in these twistier parts of the track.
Trying to just break it as much as he can, but I think here Muirhead's also got to worry about Raymond Day coming up behind. Day was unflinching down the mountain straight, not opting to go into the draft, just keeping to run his line as they come over here, getting ready to go down through Skyline, down the path once more. This is going to be a battle to the absolute bitter end.
And I'm sure they all want those points, hoping to try and collect as many as they can, even if they can't catch Holly towards the end of the season. They want farther positions up the championship order. We've already got Ryan Kings on the Conrad straight now as this group, oh, is that a wall touch there for Muirhead?
I think it may have been. It wasn't too nasty. I don't see anything from the rear wing mirrors having any problems, so he should be relatively okay.
He got very lucky there on the last lap, but it looks like that interrupted any sort of run he may have had as he falls back. But this man, Ryan Kings, I need to check. I don't think he's taken a win yet here in the MX-5s. He's gotten close a couple times. He's had 2 top 5s, both of them also top 10s. No more than that, than those two, as he finds himself coming out of the final corner and takes the victory for round 7.
A well-deserved victory there for Ryan Kings. Bradley Holly able to come in behind him, but we've got to jump to this battle. This is Raymond Day trying to get a last lap maneuver on Parker Muirhead. Unless he can get the over-under, I don't think he's got it.
No, Raymond Day thought about it, but he couldn't pull it off on Parker to try and get him back on that one. We got a battle between Kalin and Foster. This is for 10th position.
Foster trying to poke his nose to the inside, seeing if he can scare off Mark Kalin off the line a little bit. Kalin not deterred, just going to run that standard racing line. If he wants to try to get anything done here, he's going to have to be late on the brakes going down into Murray's corner. Looks like maybe a little bit of a better run there from Kalin.
He needs it right now. He needs to keep himself at arm's length from Foster. Foster could send a dive in down to Murray's if he wants, but he chooses not to. And he'll settle for that 11th position. Looks like we don't have any more battles behind them. Drivers just kind of cruising home from there. And there is our winner, Ryan Kings, taking his first victory of the season here in the PRL MX-5 Cup Series. Let's go through our finishing order. Ryan Kings, the winner, starting from the front row, with Bradley Holly on the pole today, but could not convert it. A slow pit stop cost him in the end. Kelly Greenhoe was third out there with Peter Newhook in 4th, and it's Parker Muirhead finishing P5. Raymond Day is 6th today, followed by Ian Cabana in 7th, up from 13th, by the way. Patrick Cowgill, P8 for him. Randy Gross, 18th to 9th, and similarly, Mark Kalin, 19th to 10th.
Coming home in 11th, it was Malcolm Foster, followed by Robert Gallinotto with Adam Young and Danny Duchesne behind them. Todd Lewis was 15th, followed by Jacques Boucher and Mark Gassel with Stacey Hunter 18th, Pete Ledon a lap down in 19th, and Jerome Stanton rounding out your top 20.
From there, sadly, it was DNFs today. Thomas, Berquist, Smith, and Larson just having a bit of a rough one, which is not too great of a shocker, DJ. We kind of expected that that attrition would rear its ugly head. We'd see a few that didn't get to finish this race at this track. It's almost an inevitability around here.
Yeah, it really is, Joe. If you have a clean race around Bathurst, you can count that as a victory, even if you finish down the order. It's one of those tracks that just always wants to try to catch you out. Such a difficult portion of track is this Sector 2 around here. And while we did have some drivers that didn't exactly make it to the end, I am surprised at just how many did and how clean, for the most part, the racing was.
Yeah, great effort by everyone, and especially since they had a couple cases where we could have had track blockages. But we've got Ryan Kings ready to chat with us after his first PRL win here, taking place at Bathurst. Ryan, congratulations. I get the sense that you sitting behind Bradley Holly saved you quite a bit of fuel. Is that accurate?
Oh, yes, it did. Once I saw the wreck happen behind us, I haven't looked at it yet, but I just knew from that point on, all I needed to do was just keep it a 2-horse race. Just keep on bump drafting him. Don't ever get in front of him. Make him use all the fuel.
Well, that's exactly what you did. He had a 4-second longer stop than you in the end. It did look like he was starting to gain. He cut it down to a little less than 3 seconds in the end. Did you feel like there were few enough laps left? It wasn't a concern?
Oh, no, I was managing my pace the last few laps, especially the last one. I just didn't want to hit the walls. With the gap I had to work with, I just didn't need to risk it.
That's completely understandable. Next time out, we head off to Sebring, another long lap, but quite a bit bumpier. You're looking forward to that? Can you make it back-to-back?
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I've had a bit of bad luck running out of fuel in some races, crashing out of some others I could have won, so I'm hoping to continue this form.
Well, best of luck, and again, congratulations. Anybody you want to thank?
Just Bradley Holly. That was an amazing fight. I had really a lot of fun with that one.
Well, it was fun to watch. That was your winner in the 43. Speaking of Bradley Holly, DJ has caught up with the 184 to talk to him about today's race.
I have indeed, Bradley. I've got to start with the rough point of the race. What happened on that pit stop?
Oh, I just took too much fuel. We were talking about it pretty much the entire race, and we kept fluctuating right around at that 2 gallon mark, and I was nervous that if we went one extra lap, we were all going to run out and cost us all good finishes.
Well, second place, still a good finish for you. And we just heard Ryan talking about how much he enjoyed that battle. I heard you letting out a wee at one point with the bump draft. How was that?
It was a ton of fun. Sometimes with these cars, it just wants to hook you left or right. And the first one he did, it sent me to the right. And, it can be quite entertaining.
For sure. And as the season goes along, obviously you want to win that race, but a second place here in points, that's going to be really, really good for you. Is that enough to kind of walk away with your head held high?
We'll have to see. We got 3 races left in the season, or 2 races, and anything can happen. I mean, it takes 2 bad races for anybody to lose a championship, and I'm just going to have to try to stay as consistent as I have been and just keep moving forward.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with that consistency. Anybody you want to thank for a well-earned second today?
I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out. You always put on a great show. All the Waterback guys, we try our hardest to be up front and try to win every race and have fun. And everybody in the PRL, all the organizers and managers try to get the series as competitive and as fun as possible, and I'm pretty happy with how everything's been going.
Well, thank you so much, Bradley. That was Bradley Holly, your second place finisher here today. Joe?
Which will wrap up the interviews, but not the racing. We're heading off to Detroit for the PRL GT3 Pro-Am Series. Definitely stick around, because if you enjoyed Bathurst, you'll enjoy this racing on the streets of Michigan.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing channel. We are here at Detroit Belle Isle, and that is where the PRL GT3 Pro-Am race is about to take part. In case you aren't familiar with this track, since it is more of an open wheel venue, let's head down to our track guide. Welcome to the Belle Isle Street Circuit. Situated in a beautiful park on Belle Isle itself, it rests in the Detroit River, sandwiched between the Motor City and Canada. With it being in the far north of the Midwestern United States, as you'd expect, harsh winters make this a bone-jarringly bumpy track. It's most known for IndyCar's yearly visit, but has also seen IMSA hold rounds here lately. The 14 narrow corners only add up to a mere 2.3 miles in length, but it can tend to feel like a lot more just from the sheer stress of keeping your car out of the walls. Runoff is non-existent in the majority of corners, so mistakes tend to be punished with race-ending damage. The dangers include the tight and twisty fountain section with its rapid-fire set of bends, and the frightening turns 12 and 13, which end the lap with 2 swift kinks. However, the most notorious spot on the track is the exit of Turn 2, made famous by collecting the Corvette pace car into its hungry walls one year. The first 2 turns are a quick chicane, so the extreme change of direction, plus the rise in the track as it crosses over a creek, means grip and balance can disappear in an instant. While the setup of the car can sometimes help lessen the annoyance of the bumps a little, what this place all comes down to is driver skill and daring. Precision will pay off with the close proximity of the barriers. While it isn't a stroll in the park for drivers, fans get to enjoy the beauty of the scenery, all while watching some of the most thrilling racing an American street course has to offer. Well, DJ, there we saw what's in store for our drivers, but it's one thing to see a few of the more generalities, but more specifically for these GT3s, what should they watch out for?
Well, they need to watch out for pretty much the entire circuit, Joe, as this street circuit has lots of corners that are just willing to catch you out. But in particular, turns 1 and 2 coming through Casino Way, very, very difficult to get the power down through there. I think you're going to see a couple of cars maybe spin the rear tires. We could see an incident through there. Coming down then through 3 and all the way through 6, relatively easy corners, just kind of standard road street circuits there. But then the fountain section section is going to be the area that these drivers are going to really, really struggle on. The strand, that long back straight, is very, very bumpy. It's easy to throw off the weight balance in the car. And when that happens, braking gets very, very difficult. And so drivers are going to have to be very, very careful.
No doubt about that. And as we take a look at the championship situation, it has basically been Krasowski who has been running the show up there at the top, as he's got all 5 of the pro wins so far. Vincent Trepanier still keeping him honest, at least. And if Daniel has any sort of bad showing, which I'm double checking to see if he's even here today. He is, it looks like. Then Vincent could easily overshoot him. Kazuki Fujita has also been incredibly fast, and while he did miss the first round, he could find himself in the fray once the drop weeks become a little bit more of a factor. And you see Minino and Olivier 1 point separating them in 4th and 5th. We also have an AM championship in the Pro-Am.
We do indeed, Joe, and over in that AM championship, it's Juan Benitez with a 5 points lead over Iago Morez, with Kwok-Nin only 8 points back, so very, very close up there for the top 3. Dewey Kang about 19 points back, only about 11 back of Kwok-Nin, with Jean-Claude Langlois breathing down his neck, only 3 points off.
Now, as for the teams championship in the series, ASR Esports is now only narrowly ahead of Precision Racing Island Boys, who have been on an absolute charge in this season. It's actually been kind of impressive seeing how quickly they've shot up through the order and are looking like they might be the ones to take this championship if their trajectory continues. NTR Motorsports and SRT Esport Black barely separated by about 4 points, and then it's a bit of a leap down to You're Dismissed in 5th, 38 points behind. Let's head through the race details real quick before we get to qualifying, DJ.
Well, Joe, drivers are on track right now for a 4-lap, 10-minute qualifying session in this 6th round of 9 in the GT3 Pro-Am Series. It'll be a 40-minute race and open setups, but fuel limitations are in place, so they will have to come down pit lane once over the course of that 40 minutes race. There is a drive-through penalty at 13 incidents, disqualification at 17, and points are available for pole, fastest lap, or 3 incidents or less.
And right now in that qualifying session, Kazuki Fujita has the provisional pole. Krasowski, with 2 laps on the board, is only 4th. He seems to be struggling a bit here today. So as the Lambo driver in the 320 has a narrow margin over Kevin Norris, and with, I believe, 2 laps to go for each of them, will he be able to start, I think, from his first pole? Let me check the stats here real quick. Yes, this would be his first pole of the season.
So a very impressive showing there from Kazuki Fujita, but Kevin Norris only about 0.05 of a second off of him, so very, very close at the top. And Teddy Lowendick only 11 thousandths of a second off of Kevin Norris, so those top 3 separated by absolute millimeters here, Joe.
Well, this is going to be a good one. And don't forget about Teddy's promise about if he gets a podium, he is going to be celebrating with a shoey. So I assume we'll probably be getting his cam a little bit later. We'll check in on that once we go to the grid. But man, it has been looking tantalizingly close in recent times for Teddy. And this is a track that can definitely throw up opportunities for drivers, even in the real world. We've seen first-time winners start to happen here. Meanwhile, Lowendick coming out of the fountain section and down towards Sunset Way here, or Sunset Drive, as he gets it right up to the exit walls, has to make up 0.06 of a second. Looks like it's going to be tight on whether or not he improves. It's his 4th and final lap, and he does not go quicker.
But good consistency there from Teddy. Keep that in mind. He was only about 0.05 of a second off of his best time. So very, very consistent times there from him. That is a very, very good thing. Here is Krasowski working his way around. Looked like he was unable to improve on that last lap.
That's his qualifying done, 4th at best. Fujita abandoned his final lap, so he is now sitting vulnerable to Kalin Norris, who is on his final flyer. We see him here on screen, down into the braking of 7 and into the fountain section, getting awful close to the walls. He is pushing it to the limit. Did he actually hit the wall there? It looks like he did. That's his qualifying over. Somehow, the 320 survived all comers, but just barely.
I don't know how he did that, Joe. That is a very, very tricky part to lose control of the car as, that is J.R. Williams, I think, calling his lap off in a very dramatic fashion. So we focus back on the number 23 Ferrari of Tyler Campbell.
Campbell's on his last flying lap here, and this is coming down to the line. I don't think he is looking like he is on a hot one, though. Yep, that one is discounted. So he is done for the day. Elliott White, does he have time? I think he's just coming on a picnic way here. Yeah, I don't think he is close enough to the finish line. So this is going to be his day done without a qualifying time set.
Well, that's not great there for him, as he is not going to have a time to set, and he will be starting down in what looks like to be 22nd position of this relatively reduced field from what we're used to seeing.
Which is probably okay at a track like this. So that means our grid is complete, and it's time to go through our starting order here today. It is Kazuki Fujita who has put it on the pole over Kalin Norris for the first time this season for the 320 car. Teddy Lowendick starts for an impressive 3rd and continues to show improvement. Daniel Krasowski going backwards compared to his 5 wins already on the board. Jean-Marc Tremblay will start 5th with Arnaud Genet on his outside. Then it's J.R. Williams starting 7th, Diego Moraes 8th, Juan Benitez will be P9, and Jordan Kuntz rounds out your top 10.
It'll be the 996 of Edward Nelson starting off in 11th, followed by Alan Roth with Cody Hatch and Kwok Nin behind them. Alexandre Breton will be the inside of row 8, followed by Dewey Kang with Jean-Claude Langlois and Marc-Andre Desjardins in row 9. Tyler Campbell will be in 19th, and Josh Slade rounds out your top 20.
We have a couple onboards, as you see the last 3 here without a lap time, White, Davies, and Fabi. And the first of our onboards is the AM driver of the 55 of Juan Benitez, going to be starting from 9th position. And what have we got for Teddy today? Do we have anything special in his setup? He usually gives us some sort of gimmick or joke. And Detroit Rock City. I get it this time. I'm quick to the handle on this one. So Teddy Lowendick starting from 3rd. And just tweeting one last message, I guess, to his fans before he heads off. And by the way, our highest driver in the AM category on qualifying, the AM pole, Iago Moraes today.
Indeed, as we wait here for, looks like just a couple of drivers to form up on the grid, there is your pole sitter, Kazuki Fujita. Joe, I am very much looking forward to this fight, seeing if Krasowski is going to be able to get some passing done. Yes, this is a street circuit, but the long drag off of Central Avenue and off of the Strand can oftentimes present some interesting areas to overtake. So it's not necessarily like a Singapore or a Monaco, where this is a strictly follow the leader race.
Yeah, there will be chances to pass. They might be risky, but you got to take them. Even then, there are also pit stops in this race. Let's not forget that. And there could be a chance to use strategy over your rivals, as drivers are just waiting for the pace car to take off here. And then we will have 40 minutes of racing. There we go. It is a very short pace lap. As you can see, they start already on Sunset Drive, which is these entire series of right-handers that leads all the way to the front stretch, the start-finish line, and into Casino Way, which is that opening chicane. So, soon to be released, Kazuki Fujita now has control. How long does he give it? Is he going to go early? He is going to go very early. Green flag is out. He caught them napping big time. Kalin Norris falling back almost into the clutches of Lowendick and Krasowski. Looks like Daniel's going to be able to get around for 3rd on Lowendick as they come over the bridge. That hump, notorious here as they try to fly down Central Way. Not seeing any wrecks in the background. Now they come up to the braking into turn 3.
Very heavy braking zone there. This is one of those opportunities that I said that you could overtake. Looks like those top four, Fujita, Norris, Krasowski, and Lowendick, all comfortable to stay in line here and just follow the leader around through this snaking section.
So not the craziest of starts we've seen here at Detroit. Glad to see everybody manage to make it through those first few corners. And onto the back stretch, they hit the strand. Fujita holding a healthy 0.6 of a second lead over Kalin Norris. He's been wanting to try to take those victories here ever since he showed up in round 2. He's been threatening and fighting with Krasowski. Right now, he at least has a buffer between himself and Daniel in the form of Norris. But will Norris be a threat, as he was mighty close in qualifying pace?
Yes, he was, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth as we go along in this race, but look at the makes and models up front. Lamborghini, Audi, BMW, Audi, Lamborghini. Now, I would have expected the Audi to be really favored around here, that light and nimble car that tends to really like these short circuits, but it looks like that Lambo in the hands of Kazuki Fujita just absolutely flying.
BMW certainly seems to be lacking a bit. The turbo not getting its opportunity to really spool up without all too many long straights out here. Already lap 1 completed. Fujita leads Norris, leads Krasowski. Still nobody close enough amongst those three down into turn 3. Seeing if we have any battles coming into there. And it's already gotten extremely single file.
Yeah, it really has, Joe. A bit surprising. I would have expected a little bit more fighting among the group, but I think this is going to be a race of patience. A lot of drivers just waiting to see if somebody's going to make a mistake in front of them and choose that as the opportunity to pounce.
You also got to think a bit of a race of attrition. If anybody collects the wall, it's going to unfortunately send them backwards. We saw that at Bathurst with the MX-5s just moments ago, that many drivers who were doing well were severely hampered. Boucher comes to mind with his first lap incident that cost him not just a potential podium, but basically finishing within the top 20 even in that race. Out of the fountain section, and Norris is just still holding station at about half a second behind Fujita. He's gained about a 10th or 2, so he has been closing in somewhat, but not at a high rate of knots. Behind them, if anything, Krasowski looks like he's starting to struggle a bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's falling back just a little bit, and Teddy Lowendick looks very, very strong here through this opening sector right through here. He was able to get a little bit closer to it. It's once they come out of the fountain section that it looks like that is the part of the track that starts to favor Krasowski a little bit.
Indeed, and we had a little bit of swap of positions, I think, between Campbell and Langlois earlier on, and that moves Campbell up into 20th. But otherwise, I haven't seen really any movement up and down our timing tower. Here through the more technical section, along Loiter Way and Picnic Way, before they have to exit up over the first bridge and onto the Strand. Great exit from Fujita to keep him out of reach of Norris.
Yeah, and that's really the crucial thing around here. You've got to keep that gap over about 2-3 tenths of a second. If it starts to get into that range, whoa, look at all of that curb Kazuki Fujita took coming down through the fountain.
Well, and the Lamborghini didn't seem to complain at all, just bounced it over there and continued like it was nothing, as taking a little look to the inside. Once again, the brakes are great on the 774, but that is a rare place to see a pass there into the exit of the fountain section. Down to 0.4 of a second now, so Kalin Norris is continuing to chip away as they complete lap 3. And they continue to also pull away from Krasowski behind them, who is up to a full 1.1 seconds back. Fujita set the fastest lap of the race.
Immediately taken away, though, by Ted Lowendick, so a good run there for him. We're seeing this happen a lot, that the gaps really start to contract a little bit through the final sector of this lap, and in the opening sector, we see them expand a little bit more as that BMW and that Lamborghini are able to stretch their legs on the limited straights around this circuit.
Let's take a quick peek at our AM leader and an update on Diego Moraes. He's sitting 8th overall. He's still got Benitez behind him, one of our onboards here today in that 55, with another pro, Jordan Kuntz, before they finally get to the next AM, Edward Nelson. Onto the backstretch. Diego looks a little too far away for Juan to be able to try an attack here as we watch the onboard getting down onto the binders into the braking zone of Benitez. And look at how much he's having to crank into that wheel here and how much it's dancing around over the bumps.
And that is one of the big storylines around here. Like I talked about, Joe, the bumps around here are absolutely brutal. And while you may not feel them through your spine like you would if you were driving these GT cars in person, you really have to be using your fingertips to drive around here to really start holding out a little bit to be able to make sure that you don't lose any of the feeling around this track. The bumps can really throw off the weight of the cars and really throw you for a loop.
Speaking of being thrown for a loop, no such problem there. Up and over the hump for Juan Benitez. As we come back to Kazuki Fujita, he's pulled to 7/10 ahead of Norris, and Krasowski seems to have gained some time on him as well. Wonder if there was a mistake out of the 774 that we missed. Ooh,
not sure.
Battle here down to the braking of 3. I think that, whoa, and there's a wreck ahead of them. Alan Roth is facing the wrong way. I think he spun the tires coming off of 4 here.
That would be my guess there, Joe. Oh, reverses hard into that wall. Little bit of rear wing damage on the number 12 Porsche.
Yeah, but that's nothing compared to the front. You could see the hood is missing on that car now. As we take a look at the replay, he just get a little loose.
He clipped the outside wall, it looked like. That's what happened coming off of turn 4. I think he ran it wide there, clipped the outside wall, tried to get the power down, and you were right, Joe, spun those tires, and that's what sent him around.
Great job, everybody behind, for not getting collected into that. Could have been so easy. Yeah, there you go. Much better look at it. So you could see the car just kind of jump. Very wide wheelbase there on that Porsche. And maybe did not anticipate. Clipped the wall, hopped him up, and from there, it was good night. So he's back rolling, but with severe damage. In the meantime, Krasowski and Norris are still nose to tail with Teddy Lowendick looking for that elusive podium.
Yeah, Teddy trying to get that shoey in here, and he's going to be hoping that Kevin Norris, his fellow Audi driver, will slow down Krasowski a bit as they work their way around and getting onto the strand here. Now, this is one of the few areas that BMW really able to do well. Those turbochargers really spooling up underneath that car, but then heavy onto the binders there. A little bit of a wide run there from Kevin Norris coming through turn 7.
Opened the door, but he shuts it as soon as possible. And now it's starting to form a train. Not just Krasowski and Lowendick. That is Arnaud Genet in the number 312, actually nearly making contact with the back of Teddy.
Gonna have to be careful there. This is a track you've not only got to watch out for the walls, you have to fully anticipate the drivers in front of you and what they will do into the braking zone. The margins around here are so very fine. Krasowski, I think, getting a little bit frustrated. You saw a flash of the lights there on Kevin Norris trying to get into his head.
I think he's going to have to work harder than that. Norris is not going to fall victim to those sort of shenanigans, but he could fall victim to a better run as Krasowski is able to get his nose to the inside. He hits the brakes, or was that a lift? Was that a lift from Norris? And he's unfortunately going to lose 2 places maybe as Teddy Lowendick tries to get involved, but he can't get the run off of 3. He has to play defense on Genet, and that is 1 spot down for Kevin Norris.
You hate to see that there for Kevin. He was trying to put up the best defense that he could. Teddy Lowendick trying to get that position as well, but very heads up to be able to fall back into line. I think he knew that if he continued to attack Norris there, he would just fall under attack himself from Arnaud Genet, and Genet now dropping back a little bit as they work their way onto the strand.
Teddy looking into the apexes here, down into the fountains section, back and forth. Ooh, little snap of the tail there coming through the middle part of it. Holds it nicely, though. Lot of curb that time, though. And still somehow the car manages it, which surprises me in the Audi. I would have thought that would have been a death sentence.
I would have too, Joe. That car is notorious for not liking curbs. Ooh, was that a little bit of a glance off the wall there for Teddy?
Let me double check that on my screen. Yes, he just touched it. And that cost him some time now, because here comes Genet, not willing to risk it down into Casino Way. Let's see if Central Avenue offers up a chance to try and pass. Is there a bit of straight line speed lost by Teddy? He's going to cover the inside. Then he comes back to the racing line. No pass attempt from Arnaud.
No, I think Arnaud here knows that Teddy is prone to make a mistake now, and he just wants to try to force it a little bit if he can. You saw that poke to the inside before turn 4, and again going into turn 5. Watch him to keep doing that. Watch him to keep seeing if there's just a little bit of a mind game to be had.
And I think this is going to be the first full lap here that Krasowski is in clean air. And I checked, he did have enough time for practice, maybe not a whole lot. He might be just slightly out of practice on this one, and that might be the situation. But I was trying to figure out why he's suddenly off the pace today. And this, to me, suggests him suddenly making these passes now that he potentially just doesn't have enough experience, and the more he's out here, the quicker he is going.
That would make sense from an experienced veteran here like Daniel Krasowski. I say experienced veteran. This is his first season of the series. Technically, it's his rookie season, but he's just put such a dominant stamp of authority that we think of him as a veteran around here. But that would make a lot of sense. And specifically with driving that BMW, it tends to want to understeer a little bit. It's a little bit boat-ish of a car. And so you really have to be very fine with your inputs to get it to turn into the corner. A lot of trail braking. And the more he gets used to that, the better he is going to be doing.
That was not his fastest lap last time, but it was still a quicker one than what he was doing behind those two. So he was being held up. 28.8 for him. Fujita, 28.9, a tenth faster. There's still plenty of race left today for him to try and close that 2.5-second gap.
Yes, there is just under 30 minutes to go here. Lots and lots of time for him to do it. And remember, he may be able to play a little bit of a fuel strategy game. We've seen him play that before. And this is Detroit, Joe. Absolutely anything can happen. If you just lose concentration for a minute, that wall is willing to grab you.
Can we get speaking of which, well, I don't know if we can get a replay, because Genet had a bit of a Teddy moment there where he just clipped the wall. In fact, he may have just gone centimeters from it. It looked very close from my perspective. In the meantime, he's not letting that phase him, because he is putting quite a bit of pressure on the 72, and now Teddy starts to pull away. Can he stay safe for this time? On to Sunset Drive. Yes, it looks not much better for Teddy, and he starts to pull back away. This time across the line, 28.9 for Fujita, 29 flat for Krasowski, so not as good from the 33.
All right, so we're going to start seeing those dueling lap times really starting to play out as time goes along. There you can see both your leader and second place on your screen. Caven Norris is well on that last lap. He was about a tenth off of Krasowski, so starting to lose touch a little bit with that BMW. He needs to make sure he keeps nice and close behind to keep any effect of the draft that he can.
Duels in Detroit, I see what you did there. As we come down into Picnic Way once again, Krasowski trying to pick up speed, and he once again uses every inch of the track. Down to 2.9 seconds up to Fujita. Remember, it was as low as 2.5 before, though, so lost out a little bit recently.
Yeah, it looks like he's just losing a little bit of pace here, and we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about the track right now. It is 101 degrees, so pretty toasty there out on track, and it may be a situation where Krasowski's just overcooked his tires a little bit, running very, very hard around these Detroit streets, and he's just got to back off for a couple of seconds here to really try to let them breathe and cool down.
What if we could head back to 12th, because we've got a bit of a train forming behind Cody Hatch, and that includes quite a few cars. It looks like Breton, Nin, Kang, Slade, and Elliott White. Elliott White, by the way, up 4 spots from where he began this thing. He failed to set a qualifying time, so he's been trying to make up for it as someone ducks off into pit lane, and that is our leader of the train, Cody Hatch. So he's not interested in experiencing that pressure any longer.
No, he's not. Interesting there from Cody. This is on the early side of the pit stop cycle, but it should be within distance to get him to the end. So I think Cody just doesn't want to be facing any of that pressure from behind him, wants to get himself out in some clean air and just run some laps by himself.
So that leaves that group with 5 now, and it's getting mighty close in the second part of it here. These 3 with Dewey Kang in 14th being chased by Slade and White. And they are going to come onto the strand with an attempt to go as quick as possible off of that off-camber rise there from Kang, and he gets great exit speed out of that Porsche compared to Slade's Lamborghini. Looks like not going to have a chance to try and attack the 32 down into 7. They stay nose to tail.
They're going to stay nice and easy here. Virtually impossible to get a pass done through the fountain section. This is one of the most technical parts of the track, specifically right here coming up through turn 10. You've got to be wheeling on the on your steering wheel, putting a lot of lock through it while simultaneously applying the brakes and trying to bleed off of that steering lock as you go through. It is so difficult to get right, so very easy to lock your tires coming through there.
Oh, and somebody else into pit lane. That was, whoa, both Kang and White. And it almost drag raced down to the brakes. Oh, but White, did he miss his pit stall? No, yes, he did. He did not anticipate how early it was going to be without the qualifying time, and he was on the other side of Kang.
Oh, and that is going to cost him valuable seconds in that battle. He is going to be in a world of hurt now.
Oh, but Kang had a much longer stop. Holy cow, Kang was in there for 17 seconds. Not sure if maybe he sped into pit lane or what. No, that can't be it, because it would have been a much longer penalty. So White, despite serious drama for him on his way in, comes out ahead of the man he was fighting with.
Well, all right. Sometimes you never look a gift horse in the mouth. There you can see those comparisons. White just able to be in and out faster, even though he was a little bit slower in the lane itself. Really good.
Let's take another look at that pit entry. I'm pretty certain it wasn't speeding, but I was a bit shocked when I looked over. I saw one car duck off, and the next thing I know, they are too wide into there. Just shooting in. My goodness, his braking. Yeah, by the time we cut back to the next camera, he's side by side, and then he realizes his mistake, so it kind of all went away. Can we see from above, maybe? And there may have been contact between them, we're hearing.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of right side to left rear contact there, Joe. I wonder if that was a little bit of repairs, that could have been what kept Dewey Kang so stationary.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, that may have been the missing clue that we needed there that cost the 32 and allowed Elliott White to jump ahead of him in the end as we jump back to second, third, and fourth. Krasowski still stuck at about 3.3 to 3.2 seconds behind Fujita. After some brief inroads, he has not been able to keep the pace up. He's continued to hold station at the least, but unless he starts really picking away, it's getting to be a little too late to try and catch up to Kazuki. He's got to hope for a mistake or maybe some lap traffic.
Well, and Joe, I've been watching this battle on my screen, and I've got to say, Krasowski is looking especially squirrely here. That rear end of the BMW not looking exactly as planted as I think he would like it to. And you can see on your screen, that's allowed for Norris and Lowendick in turn to be able to catch up behind him a little bit. And now Caven is really starting to put some pressure here to this BMW and see what he can do with it.
Well, and let's not forget, that's two mid-engine cars behind him right now. And Krasowski is the only one in a front-engine machine. In fact, even all three of them, because the Lamborghini is, well, mid-engine. So he's basically the one that's got all the weight on the nose and is trying to get that rear to grip up. Yes, it's got a lot of power, but he needs it to finally be able to apply that power to the concrete.
Exactly, and that front engine bias there, it makes the car, as you said, harder to control, gives it a lot of that understeer, whereas the Audi and the Lamborghini, the mid-engine, it more evenly distributes the weight across the entire car, makes for that drivetrain to be a lot more darty, a lot more nimble. That's why you're able to see Kevin Norris close up so much like he did right there through that ever-tricky 10-11 sequence.
Great stuff here from the 774, but credit to Krasowski. Oh, as I thought for a second there, Norris clipped the wall again. And oh, I think he may have a second time, and 2 corners there, just brushed them. These guys are leaving nothing on the table today.
No, they are not. They are pushing it to the absolute limits. Caven losing about 2-3 tenths of a second out to Krasowski here, but Teddy Lowendick able to be nice and close behind, get a nice benefit of the draft. Janae starting to gain some speed over Teddy, though.
Ed Nelson pits in, the latest to try and take his strategy out of turn 3. Our leaders still second, third, fourth, and fifth with less than half a second between each of them. And they'll come onto the back stretch. Now it seems like Krasowski's starting to get a handle on things. In fact, way better first part of the lap. Here comes Teddy Lowendick. He spies an opportunity. He's going to have to be brave, though. Kevin Norris is likely going to have to cover off the inside. 2 Audis go into the corner, and it is going to be Kevin Norris who comes out ahead.
Yes, it is. Teddy thinking about a little bit of an over-under there, but the track just narrows up too much into that fountain section. He's not going to be able to get it done, but that is crucial for Teddy. He now has shown his nose to Kevin Norris, and Norris is going to be driving with that knowledge in his head that Teddy could attack at any moment.
And Kevin, I think, maybe made slight contact with the wall. It looks very, very close as they come out onto Sunset Avenue, or Sunset Drive here. Little wipe of the nose from Teddy Lowendick, trying to calm himself, not get too caught up in this. He knows that if he can just make this pass, that first podium here in the GT Pro-Am Series is his. Great exit once again over the bridge. Another defense from Kevin Norris, holding the inside, drifting back, giving just enough space, but Teddy doesn't like the looks of it. He brakes early.
Yeah, breaks early, but I think he's seeing what I'm seeing here, which is specifically coming out of the fountain section and down through 12 and 13 on to Sunset Drive. The rear end of that 774 looking a little bit slippery, just sliding across the track a little bit, not exactly gripping up right at the point of acceleration. And so that may be a little bit of an opportunity here for Teddy to get on the attack.
See a little bit of a heave of the shoulders as he lets out a breath onto the backstretch. He's feeling the pressure. He's feeling the tenseness in this fight, knowing that Arnaud Genet is going to attack if he leaves the door open from a bad attempt there on Kevin Norris. And this has been great for Krasowski. He's now about 2.2 seconds ahead of him. There you see the distance between the BMW and the Audis. So he has used this opportunity to scamper away. Unfortunately for him, it hasn't helped him gain speed. He's still 4 seconds behind Fujita.
Yeah, he still has a lot of ground to make up here. Teddy Lowendick about 0.2 of a second behind. I think he's just got to try to nail this run through Casino Way here to see if he can be able to get the power down when he needs to. Looks like he's able to get some good power there as they make their way onto Central Avenue. He's still about 0.2 of a second behind. He'll have to be a little bit later on the brakes if he wants to get this done. I don't think he's going to go for the move.
He was a lot closer last lap, and if he didn't go that time, he's not going this time. Still nothing from Genet behind him as well, as we've been watching from on board. Norris looking at that green and black 72 onto Picnic Way. Little rise here as the track crests and doesn't want to grip up onto the back stretch. Not the greatest of exits out of Teddy. Don't think he's going to get a chance this time. Kind of wonder if it's worth it for him to maybe try and duck into pit, though.
It may be. Looking at his relatives, I think he'd probably come out around 13th or 14th position right now. That would put him out probably behind Tyler Campbell and Marc-Andre Desjardins. If he's able to do that, there is a nice little gap that he can filter out into, but that's a big if.
Yeah, I'm looking at the track map, and he's got a couple big gaps in there. So the chances are good, as that was a wide run. I'm not sure if that was a touch with the wall for Kalin Norris, but it sets things up for Teddy Lowendick once again. He could try and dare into Casino Way, but that might give up a better opportunity down onto Central Avenue. Does he get the run off of here? He's trying his darndest to get the power down, and it doesn't look like it's there once again.
No, just a little far back, and now he's got to play defense, as that was Genet poking his nose to the inside. Teddy, though, not blinking from it at all. Able to carry some good speed into the corner at least, and able to keep those gaps nice and easy.
Second place in the AM category is in. Looks like Juan Benitez pits, and Diego Moraes has less pressure from behind. In fact, it's a full 6.5 seconds now, as on to the backstretch. Norris might have to, Lowendick might have to go to defense. Genet was on top of him there for a moment, but he didn't get the exit that he needed onto the strand. And despite looking very good on the brakes, Teddy shuts the door.
Not able to get it done there is Arnaud Genet. Good defense from Teddy Lowendick. He's going to have to see if he's able to get anything going here. This is such a tricky track. There he goes very wide, trying to carry as much momentum as he can. I think he knows where he is strongest, and it seems to be here coming on to Sunset Drive.
Still not seeing pit stops from the leaders. Nobody willing to come in. Fujita Krasowski carry on. So does Norris and Lowendick. And what happened to Genet? Did we have an issue with the 312 because he's suddenly a full second back?
I'm not sure exactly what happened there, Joe. I'll have to go back and check out. I wonder if he had a little bit of a brush with the wall coming through Sunset Drive.
I'm trying to check here. Looks to me like he just simply couldn't get the power down out of the fountain section, from what I can tell on my replay. And then, yeah, he did have a moment through 11 and 12 as well. And that cost him some valuable time. He'll have to regroup, but this is great for Teddy. Look at what he's doing with it now already as he tries to square off turn 6, and they start to pick up speed. He looks for as much of that momentum as he can get down the backstretch along the river, but as they brake, he's not close enough. He almost seems like drivers need to have to be fully alongside to actually get a pass to happen.
Oh, that was a little bit of a wiggle there out of Kalin Norris. That purple Audi getting a little bit sideways. Again, squaring off massively there is Teddy, just trying to carry that speed out of the fountain section and through turn 11. Looks like Norris has got a little bit more breathing room on this lap as they make their way onto Sunset Drive. Let's see if anybody peels off here. Waiting to see. This is a very tricky pit entry. Nobody decides to come.
Everybody stays out for now. Yep, pretty much all up through the top 8 have still elected not to pit this time. Those behind them are getting pretty spread out, though, so they don't have as much incentive to try and pit early, because they're probably not going to be jumping anybody. Down into the braking for turn 3, just into the statue. And Kalin Norris has miraculously been able to hold off Teddy Lowendick. The 774 has not been completely faultless out there. He's had a few slip-ups, and I think that was a little slip-up there from Lowendick coming through turn 5.
Yes, it was, and look who noticed that. It's Arnaud Genet, who is now ready to pounce if he can. Tries to get the benefit of the draft. That Lamborghini a little bit better in a straight line than the Audi traditionally, but he, like Lowendick before him, just doesn't have enough to get alongside going into 7.
Almost 10 minutes left to go. And we think we just got a message from Teddy over the radio saying he's going to be pitting in this time. Let's see if that actually is true as they come up into 12 and 13. And then off of there towards Sunset Drive. This is the pit entry. No, instead it's Genet who blinks first amongst our front runners.
Well, I've got to think here for Teddy Lowendick that the opportunity to do this is maybe try to overcut Kevin Norris. He knows there is clean space out on track. If Kevin is able to dive in, if he has forced Kevin Norris to use a little bit more fuel, that was Janae missing his box.
Oh, no. Well, that's not going to jump him at all. Jean-Marc Tremblay, who's also in there in the BMW, makes his pit stall nice and clean. So Janae's back out. Let's see what his pit time looks like. Yeah, about 30.5. Compare that to most everybody hitting 27s to 29. So that's going to be not the worst of losses, but it's going to cost him what would have been maybe his best opportunity to make a pass without having to make a pass. Meanwhile, we look at Norris and Lowendick. As it was 4 drivers in the line earlier in the race, it is whittled down to 2.
Yes, it has. And as I was saying for Teddy Lowendick, he has just got to hope here that he is able to undercut or overcut, I think, Norris. That has got to be the way he takes this because he is faster. And now, comparatively back, looking back at Arnaud Genet. Genet came out in clean air, so Teddy should be able to come out if he wants to pit in this time, or Kevin Norris, either one of them. Norris comes in, Lowendick stays out.
So Lowendick going to try and go long. Fujita also stayed out. Krasowski is in. Now, Krasowski had pulled a pretty decent gap, so unless he has a horrible pit stop, don't think that he is going to get undercut, or overcut, really, in this case, by Lowendick. And where is Genet? Genet just now coming onto Sunset Drive. Krasowski's done and out of the pit lane. And he comes out just ahead of Kwok Nin, and that might be critical for him as well, because that could have been lap traffic holding him up.
Yes, it could have been, and now he is just going to be able to go off into the distance here and be able to run laps. He's not really going to have to worry too much about Kwok Nin behind him. I have to imagine Nin still owing us a pit stop here.
Yep. So that's a battle for position, but on different strategies. So Nin really probably shouldn't try and fight too much and hold both of them up. Yes, if he's a little bit faster, is actually he just clipped the wall. So Nin probably not going to be faster after that anyways.
Yeah, he should be able to breathe a little bit easier here, Will Krasowski, so that'll be good news to him. Keeping an eye on Teddy Lowendick. Whew, you can see just the margins as they come into the fountain section. It never fails to amaze me. Teddy Lowendick, as our leader, is coming in, as is Teddy, so this will be just about everybody. I think this is the end of the fuel cycle.
It should be, from what we are witnessing. Kwok Nin and Tyler Campbell are the last two that need to come in. Yeah, not only the margins there in that fountain section, you can see the marbles starting to build up through a couple of these corners on the outside, and that is very bad news. If anybody tries to move, whoever's on the outside is in a bad spot. Fujita easily in and out to continue leading this race. He'll lead every lap at this case if he continues from where he is. Krasowski out ahead of Lowendick, who is out ahead of Norris. Lowendick has jumped him. He's onto the podium.
And look at that face from Teddy, and look at that gap time. It's about 2.5 seconds for Teddy Lowendick. Strategy played to perfection, Joe.
I think he may have been saving a bit of fuel. It was 6.6 seconds in the lane. Even if he hasn't saved enough and he's still got to try and coast his way into some of the corners, we've seen how hard it is to try and pass here. This track position might just be everything.
It might indeed, but we will have to see how it plays out. We don't want to jinx anything. There's still 6 minutes to go in this race. Fujita having a good lead of about 4 seconds over Krasowski, and Teddy Lowendick rounding out your podium.
Well, that separated a lot of our front runners, but like you said, there's still things that could happen like that. Going way wide into the marbles for Kuntz, and now Benitez says, I want that spot. It may be between a pro and an am, but he wants the overall, and breaking down at a 7. Benitez is deep. There's not going to be much space at the outside, but he makes space, and Benitez is into 9th with that.
That was a gutsy maneuver, and you saw there Kuntz getting up onto that entry curbing. I thought for sure that was going to end in tears.
Wow, very brave stuff in the midst of things, and glad to see everybody gets out the other side. 5 minutes left to go now. Look at this back behind these guys now. And into the wall goes Nelson. Nelson through 12 and 13, smashes the left-hand side. Breton has got to be quicker here. He's going to try and get to the inside. Too late to defend there for Nelson. And in fact, looks like he is indeed limping a bit.
Yeah, some heavy damage there. May even be a little bit of suspension damage to that Porsche. That is just very rough for him. You can see him immediately trying to go defensive to hold onto that position from Kwok Nin. But Nin going to try to fight around the outside here.
Has to cover him off. Both of them trying to get through. That's Elliott White as well, up to 14th position now. He wants more after his lack of qualifying. And still, it looks like Kwok Nin unable to do it. Try to take advantage. Elliott White cuts back, but hits the rear bumper of the 86.
And so that is going to stagnate that fight for the moment. Ticking closer here to 4 minutes left to go in this race. I think it is really now or never time for some of these guys that are closer.
So yeah, they're going to be, I think, 3 to go at the line for Kazuki Fujita this time, which he just crossed. Yeah, so it should be 3 to go at the line for him. And through the fountain section now, Edward Nelson has it under control, or does he, as he slips up a little bit there out of the fountain section. Maybe he's finally figured out what the car can and can't do after that contact with the wall, unsure of what damage is underneath him. Kwok Nin giving chase after having to hold off Elliott White. This is all essentially for 12th position. And we've only lost 3 cars. We thought attrition would be bad today, but Roth, Langlois, and Campbell are the only ones that have quit early.
Yeah, really impressive, but it just goes to show you the breadth of talent here in this Pro-Am series that we've only had that. I mean, normally, Joe, when we see a race here at Detroit, you've got a big car pileup, kind of like the ones we were worried about. That is all way off there. That is the Lamborghini of White.
And he's going to not only lose positions, he takes a tow. Not sure what happened there, but decided he was not going to try and get it back out on track, and not sure if we'll see him out to the finish because there's not many laps left. And in fact, Fujita is just going to be crossing now with 2 to go. Let's take another look. Did he outbrake himself, or did he intentionally send it in there? Almost looked like he outbraked himself, I think.
Yeah, I think he just outbraked himself a little bit and decided not to go for the corner and run any risk of getting into contact with Kwok Nin. Let's check out the replay here.
Coming in a hurry. Don't know if, and he clipped the inside. Wonder if that gave him some damage that maybe was a meatball, and that's why he wound up taking a tow. Whatever the case, that promotes a few of those behind him up a position, and White will likely finish in 18th. Not missing anything up at the front. Fujita, almost 4 seconds ahead of Krasowski. Krasowski about 3.5 ahead of Teddy Lowendick. And Norris has not been able to respond as well, as we've had a problem with Nelson. That's not the way this track runs. And that was a bit risky. Thankfully, okay, he's getting going in a safe spot. Nelson down to 15th. How did he get facing that way is the question.
Joey just carried too much speed through Casino Way. You know, the way the track breaks away from you there, if you get on the throttle a little bit early, caught some of the curbing, carried too much speed, and whoop, right around.
Thankfully, it wasn't too hard of a hit, but it was just the time it took to try and get facing the right way that I think was the more costly aspect of that one. White flag is out for Kazuki Fujita. This is a man that has been chasing the leader in a number of races, pressuring them, and sometimes battling with them to try and take that first win in the PRL. The Japanese driver this time didn't have to battle at all. He put it on pole position. It was close, but then once the green flag fell, control was his, and he has not looked back since.
No, he is not. A truly commanding drive here at Detroit. And this is frankly what a lot of times you see around this circuit. This is a true love it or hate it kind of place. And if you have yourself hooked up, if you are in the zone to drive around here, you are nearly untouchable. And that is what Kazuki Fujita has been today.
Some of my earliest memories with the Detroit track is IndyCar Racing 1 and 2, and trying to somehow get that car around here. I always remember it being difficult even back then on the more basic software that Papyrus had, which is what... was that a touch with the wall there?
It may have been the slightest of ones, yeah.
I think he'll get away with it, so clearly still pushing a bit. He's got about 4.5 seconds still, so he didn't really lose any time at all. Regardless, Fujita is giving us a little bit of a scare at the end. I'm sure himself a tiny scare, but no matter, because Kazuki Fujita is our first winner other than Krasowski here in the GT3 Pro-Am Series.
Krasowski crossing the line in second, and Teddy Lowendick, get that shoey out. Here's the podium.
I'm looking forward to the post-race on that one, so we'll try and keep the camera at the ready for when that happens. And look how excited he is about that one. I'm sure Fujita is beside himself as well. And beat Krasowski, you got to say, fair and square on this one. That was down to pace. Wasn't any sort of bad luck or anything like that. Krasowski just didn't have an answer. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Detroit Belle Isle. It was a storybook race here today for a couple drivers. First of all, Kazuki Fujita, who finally gets his first win. The speed was there. We knew it was there. It was just he's had a hard time trying to face off against Krasowski, and when the opportunity presented itself, he was not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Krasowski mysteriously off the pace in qualifying. At first in the race, didn't seem to have anything, but started to charge forward. It wasn't enough. He took a second place, still valuable points towards a potential championship. And how about Teddy Lowendick? Hope he's getting that shoe ready along with the chilled champagne, because he gets his first podium here in the PRL GT3 Pro-Am Series. Kevin Norris jumped in the pit stops by Teddy Lowendick, and unfortunately finishing just off the podium, but still a handy fourth for him. It's Arnaud Genet in fifth, followed by Jean-Marc Tremblay in sixth position. Then it's J.R. Williams, exactly where he started in seventh. Same deal with Iago Moraes, our winner in the AM category, in eighth, and Juan Benitez finishing ninth. Kuntz as well, essentially seventh through 10th, all where they finished, they started.
Alexander Breton breaking up that trend up 4 on the day, followed home by Kwok Nin and Cody Hatch behind him. But Josh Slade, your big mover on the day, came home 14th, up 6 positions. Edward Nelson was 15th after that contact with the wall, followed by Marc-Andre Desjardins. Dewey Kang was 17th. And the rest of your drivers, unfortunately, DNFs, Elliott White, Tyler Campbell, and Jean-Claude Langlois.
And it looks like we've got second place finisher Daniel Krasowski ready to talk to us here, as was a bit of an unusual race for Daniel. Daniel, we saw that your qualifying wasn't quite as good as we expected. And at the start of the race, you didn't look all that competitive, but it started to come to the fore later on. Was this a case of lack of practice here, or what put you on the back foot?
Yeah, definitely lack of practice. First time on this track. And I think the BMW has a bit of disadvantage here. It is the biggest car on the smallest track. It is hard to get that fat ass around some of those corners. And the other thing is it's probably the worst car for traction, front engine, rear wheel drive. There's this one corner, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's on the inside field. It's the slowest one. Trying to come out of there, I get so much wheel spin while like the Audi and the Lambo just take off. But otherwise, I think Kazuki was just really consistent and fast. I was waiting for a mistake because I thought that's the only way I could win, but it didn't happen. So congratulations to him for his win and decrowning me from undefeated, I guess.
I mean, despite not being able to sweep the wins, which has, I think, only been done once in any series in the PRL, a second place definitely keeps you on track for a championship. So you can't complain too much, I would think.
No, I still have high hopes in the next few tracks. I'm pretty confident. I'm super excited for next week, Bathurst especially. I think that's going to be interesting, as everybody will have lots of practice after the 12-hour race.
No doubt about that. And we just saw the MX-5 race there earlier this evening. Is that a track that you have a lot of experience in?
Yes, I did want to win a 12-hour on that track in like some mid-split. And it's one of my favorites. So I've been super excited waiting for this week to come up. Probably be spamming a lot of races.
All right. Well, that was Daniel Krasowski, who's got some fun ahead of him, it seems, as we head off to Bathurst with a second place today. And let's bring up the camera of Teddy Lowendick, as DJ has caught up with, I suppose, the man of the hour.
There it is, Teddy. We want to see it. Come on.
All right. I don't know how you do this. I've never had to do it before, but here we go. Yeah!
Yeah!
There it is. Attaboy.
I mean, it goes without saying, my friend, this has got to feel good.
It does. It really does. That one's for everybody at RSR, eSport, ButtKicker, G Performance, Formula Hypersoft News. You guys, everybody at PRL. That was, man, that was a fight. Holy smokes.
Yeah, talk me through that. I mean, looking ahead, looking behind, how were you managing that over the course of that battle in the first stint?
Straight terror. That's what it was. So I took it really easy on the first lap, and Dan got by, and then I just kind of sat there, rode behind him, and then when he sent it on Kalin, I was like, "Oh, I'll follow him through." Couldn't make it happen, so then it was just defend Janae behind me and try to get around Kalin, and then I don't know if Kalin put in too much fuel at the pit stop, but we jumped him in the pit sequence, and hey, here we are. We're drinking champagne out of a shoe. Let's go.
Let's go, indeed. I mean, all right. What's the next challenge? You got the podium. You put it down. What's the give and take on the next challenge here?
I don't know. If I get a win, I don't know what I'll do. This could be crazy. So, but yeah, this was awesome. I know my dad's watching, so thanks for watching, Dad. Mom, you might be there too. She's probably judging me for drinking stuff out of a shoe, but it is what it is. So yeah.
I mean, anybody else you want to thank for the podium, Teddy?
No, I think I covered it already. Dan gave me a little pump up speech before we got out there, and I'm just happy I qualified well, because that seems to be my struggle this year. All right. That was awesome.
Well, congratulations again. That was Teddy Lowendick, your third place finisher here today with his shoey. Joe?
He's finishing it off. Oh, goodness. Oh, well, at least he is unafraid of that one. I'm sure he's going to have a sore throat in the morning, though. In the meantime, I believe you got fourth place, Kevin Norris, the man who got beat to that podium today. And Kevin, it seemed like the pit stops were the deciding factor. Teddy theorized that maybe you put too much fuel in. Is that the case?
I think so. I'm going with the refuel with the crew chief, so maybe he's like putting a little more gas than the others, so maybe next time I should check my things before.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a little bit of disappointment, but God, what a tough track this one is. Is it a bit of relief to just get to the finish without having any bad moments?
Yeah, because during that whole season, I've been pretty like top 10, but not as near as the podium like this one. So no, it was pretty fun. Lots of clean battle, and gosh, it was very fun. I like that race.
I don't blame you. And in fact, that's your best finish of the season, your first top 5 out of this one. So does this kind of turn things around for you? Do you feel like momentum's going to get in your favor?
I hope so.
We hope so as well. Congratulations on that top 5. Anybody you want to thank for that?
Advanced SimRacing, Alexandre Breton, Trépanier that is in Florida right now, in the sun. So yeah, thank you everyone, and you guys as well.
Well, thank you very much. That was Kevin Norris, unfortunately slipping from second down to fourth, but still his best finish of the season. One last one to talk to, Arnaud Genet with a top 5. He's ready to chat with DJ.
I am indeed, Arnaud. A very tight battle there through the field. Obviously, 5th place, still a top 5 is good. A little bit of disappointment, or are you happy to walk away with that?
Yeah, the Lambo felt really good here. I had a couple of good official race this week, so I had high hopes for sure. But yeah, I did a little mistake in the pits. Passed through my pit box, probably lost the position there, and yeah, so a bit annoyed, of course. This is not the kind of mistakes you want to do in a tight battle, but it was for sure very fun. Following Teddy and seeing Kevin Norris that's running in amateurs last season. Fighting with the big boys, that's pretty cool to see. But yeah, hard track to pass, and I couldn't save any fuel, and yeah, so guys had the pace, I guess.
Well, are you a fan of tracks like this? I mean, I know it's obviously a little bit harder to pass, but I was talking on the broadcast that this is a love it or a hate it kind of track, and I'm curious which camp you fall into.
Yeah, this is kind of my track, actually. The Lambo is so good, and I really like that car. And in those, in Long Beach and in Detroit, of course, I love the car, how you can just trail brake into a corner, and the back is just following along, and you can stomp on the throttle pretty quickly. So it's a really fun track in the Lambo. But yeah, some of those faster tracks I kind of struggle. So you have to enjoy those ones, since Bathurst I'm probably gonna suck there. So yeah, just enjoy it, those smaller tracks and very tight ones. And I guess that if I don't know if this year we're going to Montreal, but that's probably one of my favorite track, since it's a road track but also very fast, and it's hometown as well. So just hope that we go there this season.
Well, I'm checking for you, but you stole my last question away from me. You guys unfortunately do not over the course of the next season. But anybody you want to thank here for this top 5?
Yeah, that's too bad for Montreal. Yeah, of course, you guys, GSRC, you're doing an awesome job for the PRL. Everyone that raced with us tonight, it seemed pretty clean to me tonight, and it's always fun to see in those smaller tracks that is very tight. And of course, everyone at PRL, our sponsors, and of course my wife that allows me to do those stuff at night.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations again on the top 5. That was Arnaud Genet, your 5th place finisher. Joe?
And that's going to wrap us up for this evening, but we want to thank some of our sponsors before we go, which includes the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Head to majorsgarage.com and use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. Also, ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today as well, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com. There's a link in the description below, make it nice and easy to get to. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're down there so you don't miss a moment, especially in this series, because next time out, They're going to Sebring for the MX-5s and Bathurst here for the GT3s. That'll be Monday, February 14th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.